So we're at a point now with the car where I need to buy some new power tools. I need some MIG gas and a few other bits and pieces where I can go on with body repairs. I killed 2 sanders and my cordless grinder, doing some things that will be shown in the next couple of episodes. Just old tools that are wore out, just a string of bad luck I suppose. But yeah, 2 sanders and a cordless grinder in 2 days I think. One of the sanders under warranty, so I've got a replacement for that, but the other 2 I need to buy outright. I need MIG gas. Budget's not super healthy at the moment, but we need to keep moving forward. So what I'm going to do is turn the car around, pull that boot lid off the bonnet and find somewhere to store that for now, and clean some stuff out of the way. But what I have in here is, this is actually the original wiring loom off my VH charger I put together when I was, well, I bought it when I was 15, I sold it when I was 24, so yeah, I've had that wiring loom kicking around for like 25 years. That particular car I pulled apart and put a CLCM loom in it so I could have the wipers on the steering column, electronic ignition and all that jazz, which is all the rage back then. But this car I want to keep VH, and it just so happens I've got a VH loom, so that's awesome. So what I'm going to do now, this won't be the final installation, but I'm going to run the loom through the car, start cleaning up all the earths, cleaning up all the connectors, and basically getting everything to work. I've hotwired this engine and driven the car, but I've never started it off the key. I've got an ignition switch kicking around that's matched to door locks, so I'll swap all that stuff over. But I'm going to run the loom in. I believe I need to cut in 2 more illumination circuits to run the E55 dash, because the car I came out of was just the base model strip dash. I'll need to run a wire for the tacho, and I'll need to adapt the wiring to the Scorcher electronic ignition that's in the car. That ignition is recurbed to suit the cam that's in the engine, so that will be staying. And what else? I don't have a circuit for the driving lights. I'm going to run something through. I'm not going to be running a factory driving light switch or relay because I'm not paying $500 for that garbage. What else? I'll run some power for a radio. I'll fix anything that's wrong with the loom. I'll get everything working, get it started running, get all the lights working, and then I'll pull the loom out and I'll retape it all, clean it, and put it away ready for when the car goes back together. But that'll just be a good exercise, something I can keep going on with. And then later on when I'm reassembling the car, there's nothing worse than dragging a dirty wiring loom through a freshly painted engine bay. I am going to paint inside the car. So yeah, all those harnesses, we'll make sure everything works, fix anything we need to fix, run anything we think we're going to need, and then clean it and retape it and store it away nicely. So that's going to be a good little activity. It'll take a bit of time. Won't be fun for you to watch. Sorry about that. And the other thing I've got to do is start playing around with the seats. The recliner mechanisms don't work. I think the driver's seat's been welded in position and it's in a horrible position. I do have a couple of CM seats there for bits. Hopefully they've got some good parts in them, but thinking further ahead to obviously getting these seats retrimmed at some point, I do need to get all the mechanisms working. So there's a few things I'm going to go on with while I try and save some funds to buy some more patch panels and some consumables, grinding discs and MIG gas and all the rest of it. So yeah, for now I'm going to turn the car around, and probably in the next week or so I'm going to start playing around with that wiring loom. So I'll try not to make it too boring. I won't film hours of me taping looms, but it will be cool to start the car off the key. It'd be cool to, now I've had a bit of rain, it'd be cool to take it out and do a couple of donuts. It's got no exhaust on it, so I can do that without starting a fire. Yeah, so that's my plan moving forward. Just odds and sods that are going to move me ahead. Will pay some bills and save up a couple of bucks, so bear with me. Thanks for watching. Alright, so next we've got our main headlight and starting loom that attaches here, and then our engine loom that attaches onto here. You can see these connectors have been painted, so I'm going to clean all them up and clean all of the actual contacts up with some contact cleaner. That earth goes there, and then I've got to find out what the colour pattern for those are. But we're going to connect all of those looms up, run them to all of where they're supposed to go on the car. And I can do away with my magic trailer wire starting system. And then run the rest up under the dash. So this bird's nest here, run up to the dash, run all of our illumination, make sure all of our handbrake light, interior light, blah blah is all working. Clean all of our earths, get all that stuff prepped way ahead of time. Indicators, blah blah. I will raid my ignition pile. And I think I've already got the one put aside for the car, which is there. So these run down to the starter. So we're getting rid of that. It's shorter than the one we have. We might end up using it, I don't know, but for now I'm just going to pop it out of the way. So in here is our starter trigger wire. So I'll pop him on. And I'll find some screws for that. I know I have some. So that leaves us with this bird nest in here that's got to go up under the dash. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop the dash pad off. I'm going to drop the column. I'm going to swap over the ignition switch for the one I know has matching keys. And then I'm going to run this loom up under the dash. I can already see a couple of wires that have been cut, which I think they're brake light switch. Again, guesses, but we'll find out when we run it all. That's the VH ignition plug that we don't have a match to. So we will have to cut those 4 wires and probably splice in a mating connector. I've got a few other spare late model looms there, so we'll be able to use some sections of those to help get us over the line. So that drops our column down, so we can now pop our gauges out. Alright. So now with that out of the way, we can really see what we're doing. To run this loom through. So we'll get on to we'll start with this section here because I know this one runs down inside the kick panel. So we'll run these through. So we'll run these wires through approximately to where they need to be, and then we can start looking at all of our connections. Alright. I might just put a bolt in the steering column just so I can set it up out of the way. Just so I can get right in there. So I have to stop it from sagging down. So ammeter, these are all instrument illumination. I'm not sure what this speaker wire is. I reckon I'm going to cut that out. Because it does not look original. You can see some butt splices in there. And in there. And then that all goes back to a fuse holder. I reckon that might be stereo or an old alarm. Actually, I'll tell a lie. The car this came out of had, well, they look like speaker connectors, but the car this came out of had this VH that I had when I was 15 had Chrysler by Chrysler electric windows integrated in. I'm reckoning this might be power to those, because that looks there like that's ran through a door jamb. The way it's worn and broken, there's overspray on it, so I reckon that might be what that is, because they're definitely not for speakers, being that they run off this. So I reckon that's all coming out, but I'm not going to take it in the now. That's fine. But yeah, there's an inline fuse holder here that it's spliced into, which might be my radio power. Flash a can, that mounts into the dash. That is wipers. That's indicators. That's ignition switch again, which we already know we've got to modify. I think these are your brake light switch. Obviously fuse box and headlight switch. That plug is not very good looking, so I think I've got another, well, I've got another few looms there, so I'll find a better plug, because that has been hot and it has a pre-insulated terminal jammed into it. Which is not ideal, but that's good. That's why I'm doing all this. I don't want to find all this stuff when the engine bay is painted and I'm itching to get it together and started. I want to go through it all now. Well, I've got the time and the patience, and yeah, make this better. So I've been able to de-pin this connector, which is a mating connector that connects to the ignition switch. It's not B1, but it is the same. So what I'm going to do is try and source some of these terminals and just crimp these exact terminals onto the ignition circuit, the VH ignition circuit. I think that is the course of action I'll take. So yeah, that's a win. Okay, so we're going to start right at the start. So going through my boxes of gear, I found a really nice VH fuse box. I will come back and give it a clean up where the fuses go. Actually, I might do that now. I probably should do things in a logical order. So I'm going to pull the fuses and clean this up. And then I'm going to replace the existing fuse box, which is just, there's nothing wrong with it, but it's just a little bit corroded looking. The cover's about to break off. It's pretty, been chopped up a bit. So I'm going to put this one in. This is in really, really nice condition. Inside it is beautiful. So yeah, this has been well kept. So we'll pop this one in. I'm just going to pop all those fuses out and clean the rear of it with some contact cleaner. So now what we're going to do is carefully remove and replace each of these into the corresponding area. So you won't be able to see, but that mounts up in there. That's where that lives. The door is hanging open slightly, but it just mounts up in there. And you just undo your wing nut. If you need to look at your fuses, and it drops down a little bit so you can have a look at your fuses. So that's where that lives. So we've established where that is going to be positioned, and we could start routing the rest of our harness from there. So this garbage can just go. It goes back to a white wire, which I think is a radio power wire. There is a fuse holder hanging down here, which is not far from where the radio would be. So we will come back and revisit that. That one there goes to our left-hand dome light switch in the door pillar. Then we can go on with looking at what's going on up in here with our illumination and everything.
Junkified proudly presents Channel Watch.
All right, Channel Watch this week. I've been watching Valiant Pacer, which is Mike in New Zealand, as you might suspect. He has a little bit of content around Valiant Pacers, particularly VHs. So Mike's got a really tidy VH Pacer, which he covers plenty of in his videos. The thing that drew me to his channel was the comparison between the Holly 4-barrel and the upgrade to triple Webbers. I really liked that video. I know other people are doing those sort of videos, but I really liked particularly that first scene where they drove away after the conversion, and he had his children in the car with him, and that genuine reaction to the acceleration and the feel of the car after putting those triples on. So that was really good the way he caught that. And the other video that obviously is really, really cool is Mike gifting his son, his 9-year-old son, a VH Pacer restoration project. So that'll be a father-son project, which I assume will slowly get chipped away at over time and covered on the channel. My parents bought me a VC Valiant Regal at age 13, and that was amazing. But to be gifted a VH Pacer at 9 is out of this world. So yeah, really looking forward to seeing where they go with that. And I really love the flair and creative style that Mike puts into his videos. Lots of really cool animations and transitions, and lots of really cool music that I believe Mike actually puts together himself. So Mike, you're a legend, and that's Channel Watch for this week. Get around Valiant Pacer. Cheers.
So I did say that this headlight switch connector is munted. It's been hot. It's had a pre-insulated terminal cut into it. It's pretty ragged looking. I just had a look at my E55 dash out of the car, and look what we've got. We'll see what it's like. And the other handy thing is they've just cut the wiring for the wiper switch, but now I know which colour goes where, so that's a step ahead there too. And what I will probably do is have a look at my VJ dash loom, or the rest of my VJ loom down there, and see if I can get the corresponding connector to this, and I can have a connector, use a nice factory connector so it all unplugs, and I'll then splice it into the existing loom. So a bit to do. I have also ordered some LED globes for all of our illumination circuit, which are these ones. We'll need some globe holders too by the looks of it, but that's okay. So I paid to have spares. I've just cut the mating plug out of the VJ, sorry, this is actually out of the CM loom, but same connection, same color codes. What I noticed on this E55 is that a lot of the globe holders are a bit knackered. They've had a hard life, probably from storage more than anything, and it's probably my fault. But what I've got here is another complete loom, and this is in really nice condition. It's still got the Chrysler part number on it, but all of the globe holders are nice and they're not brittle, which they get brittle obviously because they're carrying heat from incandescent globes all their life. And I've ordered some LED T10 globes, so I'm going to replace all these with LEDs. For the illumination I bought green ones, and I'll buy some clear ones for your indicators and high beam indicator and whatnot. So yeah, anyway, we'll swap all this over and come back. Okay, so how's the wiring progressing? We're going all right. It looks like a dog's breakfast, and that's because at the moment it is. Got wiring diagrams and bits and pieces everywhere. So we've spliced in this later model combination plug, and that's going to allow us just to plug the instrument panel in one piece. Originally this car had a strip dash, and this loom was the same, and all of the wires individually went up to each illumination circuit. So that's all been cut and spliced into here. So all these purple splices are illumination, and these blue ones go up to a lot of your warning lights as well, but they're all spliced together from one source. So I've just ran a single one of each up, and that's how these late models were wired. So you can see you've got one purple going in, and that's spliced actually in this little dash loom into all of these individual circuits for your dash illumination. And same goes with the blue. All these blue circuits here are also spliced off one input. So we can go back down the loom and trace all these back and delete them out of the loom as we go, and just leave obviously the one of each running up to our combination plug. So that's taken a considerable bulk out of excuse me, a considerable bulk out of that side of that part of the loom. As far as the headlight switch goes, that pin there I've repinned. The connector is another connector off another loom because the one that was in there had been chopped out, as I showed you earlier. I found my best ignition switch with the steering lock works and the key fits and blah blah. I've repinned that VH, early VH, sorry, hard to see here. I've repinned that early VH connector to now take a later model connector. That way I can use this type of ignition switch. The 71 VH has used a flat face ignition switch, which I believe shares some components with the Leyland P70 on that, but they look very much the same on the face. Anyway, useless trivia. But those ignition switches are very rare. They only used them in early 71 before they went to this type, all the way through CM. There was a couple of variants. The very early ones I think didn't have the cast in off accessories lock on them. They just had a sticker, or it was the other way around. Regardless, I'm not too fast. I'm using these because I've got them. I'm not paying $500 for an early ignition. Yeah, and especially considering I've got spares, so I'm set there. That's all spliced in, so looking pretty good here. The next couple of things I've got to chase up is this ignition switch came out of a VJ U-Direct, the steering column, blank steering column, and they just use a generic, I think Jaycar sell, anyway, lots of places sell these. This is just a generic 8-pin connector where the factory indicator switch uses this slightly different connector. So I think what I might do is these 12-pin connectors you can still buy, and there's a 9-pin version as well. You can buy them from Molex. There's a guy called Wiltronics that sells them, and you can buy all the pins. So I'm half tempted to use maybe one of these and just repin both ends, just so I know what I've got. Looking at this on the inside, I don't know if it's going to show up very well, but the crimps are garbage. They look like they've been crimped with, I don't know if you can see there just how the insulation crimps are just dead flat. It's obviously been crimped with not the correct tool, so I'm not going to run with that. I'm going to, repin it. So my connectors have turned up that I'm going to use for my indicators. It's not factory VH connector, but it's a 9-pin. So I've got, female and male connectors, a female and male pins. Now these are the same connectors that are used on some of the late models. This is a 12-pin variant, but these looms also use a 9-pin. This is a CM loom, but so yeah, they're made by a company called Molex. I think they were originally made by Utilux, but either way, we're going to use those connectors to replace this generic connector that's on the plug. It'll be half the size, and then this is the factory VH plug here. So we're going to remove all the pins from these connectors and cut them off as close as we can to the end. And there's plenty of length there, so we will fit the all of the pins, and we'll connect them up and test them before we actually plug the pins into the connectors, because I'm not sure, because this has been done after by someone along the way. I don't know what order the pins, whether they're correct. The colours look like they mostly correspond, but I'll test before I plug them into the connector. You can get them out reasonably easy, but I'd rather just plug them all in and just test operation first. But I'll start with colour coding them all and just mating them together and see how we go. So we've got our connector for the indicator all pinned in nicely. This one here was actually it's a spare wire it's used for the column shift quadrant backlight illumination on a column auto. So what it is a signal saying headlights are on. So I'm going to use that for the radio dim when I wire a radio in. So that's all connected. Brake light switch has all been spliced in and connected. Those wires have been cut, so I joined them. Dip switch is all wired in. So this is our main bulkhead, or our main connector that goes to the instrument cluster. So that is all wired in. There's 3 spare wires here. Now at least one of these will be for the tacho. I haven't chosen which one or routed at the other mating end yet. Now the black one here, I'm going to run to a body earth. Probably clean up and drill and put a nice hole up in this steering column bracket, just so we know that our instrument cluster has a real nice clean earth to the body. And off that I'll also run an earth to the stereo. I've ran 2 new stereo wires, a switched and a non-switched, directly from the fuse box. So that'll be, and I will put an inline fuse in those. And that's our illumination. And then we'll run an earth as well for the radio. That earth there that I'm going to wire into the cluster. So that picks up off our connector and just comes down and grounds out on the body. So that's just going to give a nice earth for all of these illumination circuits. The next thing I was going to tackle was going to be the heater controls. Now I found a heater switch, but it is absolutely knackered. It should have 2 connectors on there. It's all broken and melted away. So I'm going to have to try and find another switch. I don't think I have one. So if you happen to be a valiant person and you have a VH to VJ heater fan speed switch kicking around, I don't need the whole control unit, just that switch, get in touch. So yeah, that brings us to the point where we're pretty much ready now to put the instrument cluster in. I have put power to it and it does crank off the key. It does have power to the coil. So everything in here has been connected, power to the coil, oil pressure switch, The alternator I'm not through yet because I'm not 100% sure whether I'm going to put an internal or an external reg in, but that's neither here nor there. This is an auto start solenoid, so I've just ran a ground just down to there, so the solenoid's all working. Bridged our ballast resistor, and these are our voltage regulator wires, which I've just taped off for now. That's wiper washer. Reverse light switch is all connected, wipers are all connected, so really I just need to run the headlights through, which has been run through. They've just got to pop the headlights and connect them, and I can start checking all this stuff for functionality, and obviously think about adding any extras in, which will be like a harness for the driving lights, headlight relays. For now I'm just going to make sure they work, and I think down the track I'll put all the relays and everything in. As I piece the engine bay together, I'll probably mount some relays underneath the battery box in a nice out of the way spot. So that'll be the next thing, whip all these lights out, connect them all up. These all have a ground, I don't know if it's both sides but there is a ground that goes in the headlight bucket. So I'll make sure they're nice and clean when I connect them up. And what else? I'm waiting for some, it's not critical, but I have ordered some LED globes for all of the illumination circuits. Obviously I won't use them on the indicators because I don't want to mess with changing flasher cans, etc. But yeah, and then we can put the instrument panel in, plug in our headlights, plug in our wipers, and start testing things. So that'll be exciting. All right, I'll be honest, the cold weather's definitely slowed down my progress and family commitments lately, but I have been out and I've put the instrument panel all back in. I've left the fuse box hanging down because obviously I haven't tried any of this wiring yet. Door light switches I haven't hooked up yet. Radio wires are just hanging down, but I have taped the end of them. Yeah, light switch and wiper switch have been connected, and I've just bridged the ammeter because I'm probably going to bypass that because it's now got an internally regulated alternator. So we'll probably bypass the ammeter permanently and put a voltmeter somewhere maybe eventually. But what we're going to do now is hook up the battery and see if any of this works. So no sparks, that's a good sign. Nothing's getting hot. Okay. Oh, the horn's not connected. All right, so I've got a right indicator. I've got a left indicator. That's good. All right. Turn our ignition key. Okay, so I've got an oil light. I can't smell anything cooking yet. Oh, so dome light's working off the light switch. So dome light is working off the light switch, which is cool. Just not off the, oh yeah, so that's using the wire here, earthing it onto the switch. And that's giving us there, so that's our right hand door light. We'll go check our left hand. From memory, that one's hanging down here somewhere. There. No? There. That must be it. There we go. So just rubbing that onto an earth. So we know that our interior light will work off the switch and off both door switches, so that's good. So we know that circuit's good. So I've just whipped our wiper switch out, and I think I know what the problem is. I haven't fixed it yet, but you see that little piece there? That's an earth strap, and that's supposed to extend, and it actually folds up to a little inbuilt washer that goes around the mounting face, and it actually earths to the dash frame through there. So I think it's our lack of earth to our wiper switch. Now I could be wrong, and there could be other things at play, but I think it's our lack of earth to the switch that is the root of our problem. So I might try and find another wiper switch, or maybe for now I might actually just find a way of earthing it out to prove that theory, just with a piece of wire or something. So I'll come back and see how that goes. So I've just been through my wiring diagram, and I've also swapped this wiper switch over, so you can see that earth strap there that I was talking about. I've cleaned up all those surfaces, and I've checked the pinouts against the wiring diagram. That's correct. So that that's the wiper switch that came out of it, and that earth strap is obviously broken and missing. So we'll put that back in and see if it makes a difference. So that's wiper switch back in. So I've got that earth now, so still not much good, but that's okay. We'll go and have a look at what our connections are like at our motor. See if we're getting power to our wiper motor. So that should be low speed power to the motor. See if we've got anything. That's all good to earth from. Good earth from there, so power. So it looks like we've got power. The only other possibility is that these connectors are in the wrong sequence, because the later ones use a gang plug that picks up all four of these, whereas these early VHs use individual terminals. It is also possible this wiper motor's dead as well, so I won't rule that one out either. Anyway, I will do some digging, but yeah, we've definitely got power coming through from that switch. So we'll recheck all these connectors. Alright, so I haven't got to the bottom of whatever's going on with the wipers yet. I need to maybe check some wiring. I don't have a diagram that shows you the correct pinouts for here, so I'm going to confirm that with some friends off their cars. What I am going to do, however, is fill the float bowl of the carby, because I do want to see if my wiring will allow the car to start off the key. So a good excuse to fire it up. I'll just get some fuel. Straight into the float bowl through the vent tube. Slowly. Got some squirters there, so that'll give us something. I'll get a bit more in there anyway. And a bit down there for good luck. And we'll spin it over and see what it does. Hope we don't start a fire or blow the joint up. Well, that's encouraging. We've still got some squirters. All right, I'll top that bowl up again and actually hook up a fuel line, and I think we'll be halfway decent. All right, so I've got a temporary fuel drum in place, plumbed up to the fuel line, rag in the top to kill all the fumes. We've refilled the float bowl, so it should be a case of turn the key and go. We'll see how we go. Here we go. All right. So last time I started this up and drove it, I just put the carby on. It was just a carby that it's a Holly 350. A mate gave it to me. It had a sucked in float, and I just put a kit through it and just dropped it back on. I'd never even checked the idle circuits or anything. So I just had a quick play around with the idle circuits, and it seems reasonably happy. I have no idea what jets are in it or anything. So anyway, it starts off the key, all light goes out, so that's all working. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. I might actually move it out. It hasn't been outside for, I don't know, since November last year, and I haven't seen any of my paint repairs in the daylight, so around the back, so we'll see how horrible that looks in daylight, and it'll give me a chance to have a good sweep in here, because it is filthy in here. I haven't been doing as much out here as I'd like to lately, because it's the time of year where it's cold and you don't want to go outside, and yeah, we've had -4 nights, and even now it's nearly 11 in the morning and the fog's only just lifting, so yeah, not great for motivation, but anyway, we'll make a bit of room, get this car off the go stands, and yeah, we'll move it outside. Alright, so she's outside. So the repairs are a bit darker, kind of expected that, but overall if it's a team. And I'm going to call that good. So that's a little bit of motivation at least, seeing it in one piece. But yeah, you can definitely see the blue on that lower quarter panel is darker, but I'm not losing any sleep over that.